We've heard that these videos are from a while ago. Have you, perhaps through these victims that have come forward, been able to ascertain when this assault might have taken place?
So according to the victims, they were 5 at the time of the incident. 5 friends who had just received their matric results when they decided to go and celebrate at this particular establishment. There was a dispute that arose between the 5 friends, bouncers, and the manager of this particular establishment, where they were then allegedly forced into a storeroom and they were assaulted. They were instructed to insert alcohol bottles into their private parts, and they were then forced to perform sexual acts on themselves. So they are alleging that this particular incident happened in January 2022 at this particular establishment.
All right. And of course, even though time has passed, I imagine the case can still very much go ahead, despite the time that's lapsed. What's the official approach to operations at that particular club, Athlenda? In other words, are police ensuring that it remains closed, given the fact that I suppose now it can be officially seen as the site of a crime?
Well, I cannot pronounce on that as yet. We would have to get clarity from the provincial commissioner, who has tasked the district commissioner responsible for Tshwane to firstly conduct a site inspection at this particular site to ensure that he gathers more information and evidence from the owners themselves, but also to ensure compliance inspection in terms of the liquor license on consumption liquor license that has been issued to this particular establishment. And I must say, it's not the first time that we would be conducting those compliance inspections at that particular establishment. We have done so before through the office of the Provincial Commissioner of Gauteng, where we did find in the past, I think there was an issue of non-compliance when it came to the manager. But as of now, I cannot pronounce yet if the establishment would be closed. We have initiated an investigation into what has happened. What is important is to arrest and apprehend those that are responsible, those that took part in the torture of these 5 victims.
And you mentioned that there had been 5 victims, but only 3 have come forward. I wonder whether you have any information about the remaining 2 from these 3, if you know what I mean.
Absolutely. It does seem as though the 5 are somehow related. They are friends. They are close friends. So we are aware that the other 2 is just a matter of time until we trace them and take down their statements. So our investigators are busy with this particular docket, and we will be then wrapping up all the statements from these 5 victims. But what is important and key is that we are tracking and tracing those suspects that are alleged to have been involved in the kidnapping, in the torture, into the compelled rape, into the crime and injuria and assault of these particular victims. And why we added the certain charges is that with the crime and injuria, it does seem as though these suspects intentionally violated the dignity of these 5 victims. When we're talking about compelled rape, it looks like that they were forced to insert these bottles of alcohol into their private parts where there was penetration. So, and that is why we have added the main charge of compelled rape, which is an offense. The kidnapping, they were taken from the establishment and taken to the storerooms. So, and they were kept against their will by these particular suspects, and they were then assaulted and so on, and they were intimidated. So the other charge there is intimidation. So that is the case that we're going to be bringing before court, and that's why we are calling on anyone who knows the whereabouts of the suspects to come forward and not to harbor these suspects into this case. We do believe that this Pablo character, who's very vocal on social media, would be able to assist us to solve this particular case. So we are calling on him to report to any police station in South Africa.
Yeah. And, Pablo mentions a lot on social media. You're right. Some of the allegations he makes are really quite sensational. And in some ways, he implicates himself in some of the alleged crimes that have been committed here. I don't know him. I've never met him. But I do imagine part of his concerns about stepping forward is whether or not he'd have to face arrest.
Look, if this Pablo character took part in what happened at this particular establishment, then he forms part and parcel of the 8 that we are looking for. So if indeed the evidence does come forward that he was also, he took part in these actions, then he must face the full might of the law. But we are still investigating, and we are calling on him to present himself, whether as a suspect or as a witness, to any police station.
All right. The claims he makes are around just how dangerous apparently those who are pulling the strings, if you know what I mean, at the nightclub are. How worried are you about whether or not people who are speaking out may ultimately be victimized for doing so?
Well, I can't comment on that. All I can confirm is that we are investigating all who took part in what has transpired at that particular establishment in January 2023. They know themselves. Either they hand themselves over or we fetch them ourselves.
All right. Athlenda Mate, thanks very much indeed for speaking to us. I do appreciate the fact that, of course, this is an ongoing investigation, and hopefully we'll be able to tie some of the loose ends rather sooner than later. Athlenda Mate is the police spokesperson.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Dr. Zanzou TV. Please subscribe. Bye for now till we meet again next time. Subscribe, please. Don't forget to like and to comment. Thank you very much. Dr. Zanzou TV, Mutsonga wa Shiviri from Limpopo. Goodbye till we meet again next time. Subscribe.